Okay, so today I wanted to talk about the reasons that I think frugality and minimalism tie in really well together. And the reason I was thinking about this is because lately I've been listening to a lot of minimalism books and things like that, and just kind of really liking the ideas that are presented with it. So I thought, is this because of me being frugal? Is it kind of like all related? And I think that they are. So I guess just to get started, I wanted to just start with like the definitions of what frugality is and what minimalism is. So when I looked up frugality, the first thing that came up was the quality of being frugal or prudent in saving, the lack of wastefulness. And then it also said economical in use or expenditure, prudently saving or sparing, not wasteful. So it's, not being wasteful with the way I see it, it's not being wasteful with your financial resources and making sure you're using them prudently, wisely, to the best use that you can see for those funds that you have. Now, when I looked up minimalism, and some of you who are, I forget, was it art or music? It was like not at all, the definition was not at all what I was expecting. Oh, I guess it's art, music, literature. It talks about a style. Minimalism is a style or technique, extreme spareness and simplicity. I could not find any definition about minimalism that was what I was thinking of, which I thought was really weird. It's all about art and a writing style and things like that. So I just thought it was kind of interesting that there's another like major definition of how the word minimalism is used. It talks about sculpture, painting, a music movement characterized by repetitive and very short phrases. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting. I was like, oh, that's not what I was expecting to get. So I guess my definition of what I think of minimalism is just kind of having less things in your life so that you can focus on the things that are most important to you. Because if you think of it, like how I started to think about it, and I heard it explained in something I was listening to, was that you don't really realize it, but the more things you have take up so much of your time, because you have to clean them, you have to organize them, all these little things that you have in your home need to be cared for. And then another thing it talked about too was when you have things that you would like to do or that you think you would like to focus on or work on, and you have the tools for those things, say like, I don't know, scrapbooking or whatever, and you have that stuff and you are not using it, every time you see those things and it reminds you in the back of your mind that you're not doing those things even though you think you want to be, it kind of adds that like stress. It makes you feel bad. Every time you see it, it makes you feel bad. So it's kind of about like having just the things that you want, that you're actively working on, and keeping everything kind of down to what you can kind of focus on and what you can work with in your daily life, and not having all those extra things for like someday or like just a lot of excess. So it's kind of not, that's just kind of my rough definition. But anyway, so frugality and minimalism. So, and just to clarify too, I don't consider myself a minimalist. Like I said, I've been reading about it a lot. I like listening to podcasts about it, but I only just have kind of started to adopt some like little pieces of things that I've learned. I've been trying to get rid of some more things that, I'd maybe just have around and are taking up space, and just to kind of free up space and make things a little easier to maintain in my life. But what I really like about it is I don't like it I'm not at that point where some of the minimalism books that you might read talk about really having like the bare minimum to survive. I never would get to that point. That's not at all what I like about it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Just for me, it's not that I would ever be striving to have like literally just exactly what I need to survive. But I like the idea of kind of paring down and getting more to the point of just having all the things that we really love and we really use. So I think that's kind of what drew me into listening and kind of reading about it a little bit more. And I definitely think that it has a lot in common with frugality. I feel like the same people with like the same type of mindset, I guess, would be drawn to minimalism. The same type of people that have the types of traits that would draw you to frugality. At least for me, it seems that way. So I thought it'd be an interesting, it would be interesting to kind of look at the two and see like what they have in common. So I came up with 5 things, like 5 ways that I think they can kind of be tied together to show how they're similar and why those of us with a frugal mindset might be drawn to these ideas of that minimalism kind of speaks of. So the first thing that I thought of is that in both frugality and in minimalism, you practice being intentional. So in both of them, you're making decisions on what matters most to you. With frugality, you're deciding what matters most to you as a way to decide what you're going to spend your money on. If you have $10, do you want to go blow it at the Chick-fil-A drive-thru, or do you want to put it in your savings account? Or do you want to maybe put it aside for, put that $10 aside because maybe you're saving up for something specific that you want to purchase. So you're really looking at what you have and being intentional on what you do with it. With minimalism, you're deciding what matters most to you as a way to do, as a way to decide what items you'll keep and what ones you will decide to do without. So, and I'm not, it kind of almost sounds like a decluttering, hoarding type fix situation, but I'm not at all referring to that. I'm talking about just like regular, people tend to just have a lot of stuff. And like as I'm recording this, I'm looking at this bookshelf with like books on it that I'm like, okay, I got these wildlife fact files for my kids when they were, I don't even know if they were born yet. I got them in anticipation of my kids. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, do we really still need to have those? Those books probably have not moved on that shelf in the last 10 years. So maybe we could donate that. So I'm talking more about that type of minimalism where you're just kind of, it's not that you have a huge hoarding or clutter issue. It's more that just you probably have more stuff than you really need to have in your life. And if I was to get rid of those books and maybe some other ones, it could free up some space, make the bookshelf look more organized, make it easier to keep clean. So that type of thing. It's being intentional with what you're keeping in your home and in your life. So that's the first tie-in. They're both very focused, I think, on being intentional. The second thing, the second area where I think that they are kind of tied in together is that in both of them, it's really about like focusing your efforts on pursuing your goals. So with frugality, you're focused on where your money's going so that you can work towards achieving your financial goals. With minimalism, you're freeing your life of excess things so that you can focus on achieving goals in life that mean the most to you. So like the example with the book on the bookcase, it's not that if I get rid of that bookcase, like, oh wow, now I just like my life goals have been, you know, moved forward that much. But it's just as you get rid of those little things, you have less of a need to maintain all these other things in your life, and you can focus on the things that you really enjoy. Like say if there was some books or photo albums or something on that bookcase, and they're kind of all jammed together with these like wildlife things and some other books that might be on there that we haven't looked at in a while. Well, once I get rid of those and just leave the ones that we really love, well, now we can focus on those. So it kind of slims down what you have to focus on so that you can focus on what's really important to you and achieving those goals that you have. So I thought that was definitely tied in with how in frugality we're often trying to achieve financial goals and making sure that we have we're using our money in a way that works towards achieving those goals. So they both kind of are goal-oriented ideas. Okay, the next thing that I thought of and the next like kind of tie-in was that in both frugality and in minimalism, you're not likely to spend a lot of money on getting new things. You know, when you're practicing frugality, you're much more prone to control yourself when you see things in the store that are set up to tempt you into making impulse purchases. Same thing if you're trying to lead a minimalist lifestyle. You're not going to want to go into a store and buy like something from like the big display when you first walk in, something on sale, a new gadget, whatever, because it's probably not something that you've already thought about and said, no, this is really going to make an impact in my life and I really want this thing. And with frugality, you don't want to just go in and spend money on that item because you most likely didn't budget for it. And then you're going to have to figure out like, what are you going to give up now because you've spent the money on this item? So I think in both minimalism and frugality, you're definitely more mindful of purchasing more things. One is more geared towards the fact of that you don't want to use your financial resources on buying that thing that you didn't really need. And in minimalism, it's more about not wanting to add more things to your home that aren't something that you truly value. Okay, the fourth tie-in that I kind of thought of is that they're both about quality of life. So often those of us that are trying to live a frugal lifestyle are doing this so that we can achieve financial goals, so that we can have a better quality of life over time as we achieve those goals. In the minimalism approach, one of the main points is to downsize the number of things that you have so that you can focus on what really matters most to you. So, and the purpose of doing that is so that you can have a better quality of life. So they're really both, and I think that's kind of what draws me to both of them probably the most, especially like the whole ideas of minimalism. It's to me, like I said, it's really not about being a true minimalist where I want to get down to the bare bones of having things. It's more really about taking the time and thinking about what you really want to have, what you really value, and kind of that simplifying. I think that's what I really like about it. It's kind of like simplifying your life, having less things, having only the things you really love, and just making things more simple. Because I look at, not to go off on a tangent here, but I also look at minimalism too, not only in things, but for activities, like things on your calendar. And I really try and more recently, because I keep reading and thinking about these different ideas, is scaling back in those areas also. You know, not having so many things on the calendar where you're just like running from one place to the next and preparing for this and preparing for that, like trying to minimize what's on the calendar so that you can have more time to really focus on your goals or the things that you're trying to accomplish. So anyway, so that's that. Okay, now the very last one, and this might be kind of a short episode, but because, you know, how many things am I going to talk about? I don't want to just kind of create like so many tie-ins that they kind of get down into the where you're kind of like, well, I don't know, really. But the fifth tie-in that I thought of, which isn't probably really even a true like tie-in, I guess, but I wanted to have 5 points to talk about. So the last one is that they, in both of them, you can pick and choose what you like about each concept and meld them together to make improvements to your life. So in frugality, you don't have to be, you know, this person who is just watching every penny and making sure that it goes exactly to what you are trying to save for or what you're trying to do with your money. You can focus more on saving money on, say, I don't know, groceries, and like saying, okay, I'm going to really focus on that because I want to have more resources available for going out to dinner once a month or something like that, or I want to save up for vacations, and you can spend a little more on vacations, or you can, I don't know, you can look at the ideas of being frugal, and you can pick and choose what you really like out of it to make your life better and apply those principles to your life. And it's the same thing with minimalism. You can look at the ideas of minimalism. I mean, some of the books that I've listened to, some of the minimalism books that I've listened to were very extreme as far as living in this very small space, having only exactly what you need to prepare food, just the right amount of utensils and the amount of plates. And they were very, very, very much minimalist, like almost to the extreme sense. But I was still able to listen to those books. And while I have no intention of going to that point that those authors were going to, I could still pull ideas out of those, pull concepts, I guess, out of those ideas that they were talking about and apply them to my life in a way that worked for me. Like maybe just scaling back on the amount of, like I said, the books that are here on the bookcase, or I had holiday dishes that I had been storing, and I had an enormous amount, like more than I would ever have in my home for a party. We had gotten too many of a matching set at one point, and there was a whole like, I don't know, like however many piece set or whatever of the dishes, the bowls, the cups, whatever, in a box still that had been in a box like forever. And I don't know why I was hanging on to them, but I finally wound up giving them to charity, and we still have left the set that we had been using, which is more than enough for the amount of people I would ever have over my house for the holiday. So it just kind of looking at the things that you think are relative to you or relevant to your life, and using those ideas to kind of make improvements where you can. So that's all I wanted to say about it. I just thought it would be fun to share because it is something that I've been reading more about lately, and it's something that I kind of tend to get excited about. And I do think it really ties in. I think that the people that tend to be frugal would probably tend to like some of those ideas that are presented in the minimalism lifestyle. So that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you're enjoying the show. I would be really, really grateful for any reviews. I hear that they really make a big impact on where your show shows up in searches, so it'll help more people find it. So that would be I'd really appreciate that. Also, if you'd like to reach out to me, you can go to my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Lola's Frugal Life. You can send me a message there. You could like the page. On the Facebook page, I mostly share the recipes that are included in my weekly meal plan episodes that I do. You can also join our private listeners group, which is at facebook.com/groups/Lola's Frugal Life. And we have it's kind of a small group, but it's been growing. It's going to just take time to grow, but it's a group of really nice people. And, we can talk about topics related to the show or other things that people are just enjoying, whatever the group would like to talk about. So if you submit a request to join, I'll see it usually within a day, and I'll accept your request, and it would be great to have you. So again, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a really awesome day.